Okay, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television show in the history of the universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown. All three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Now today I am going to be doing a little bit of a different video. So let me show you what I'm doing over here. I got my props over here. I'll grab them. So, years and years ago, I was in a writing group for a brief couple of months, and I presented the writing. I mean, this was probably around 2011, 2012, and I presented the writing group with various samples of what I was working on with my epic fantasy novel, The Forgetting Moon. Well, I didn't realize that one of the members of my writing group, my good friend Brooks Briggs, who I actually went to high school with at South Sevier High in Sevier County, Utah, he was in the writing group, and he had kept those samples that I had given to the writing group for critique. And at my last book signing, he actually came to the book signing, got some books signed, and presented me with a copy of the very first page, the very first draft of the first page of The Forgetting Moon that I had shown that writing group, that we had went over and critiqued in the writing group, okay? He'd saved it. I didn't know. He'd saved all the samples I gave him. But he framed the sample. He wrote me a nice little note. Now, the note says, "To Brian, here is one of your early drafts you presented to our writing group so long ago. Let it be a monument to your perseverance, journey, and progress over the years. Congrats to you on a monumental achievement. Your friend Brooks Briggs." What a gift. What a cool gift, right? So then we decided, let's compare this to the final version. And so we did there in the bookstore. We kind of and I noticed a few things, okay? A few things that I'd forgotten, and I will go over those, but we're gonna do a little bit of a detailed go through on this with this video, and where I will show you the differences between the first draft and the final version. Okay, it's interesting to me, and I hope that you guys find it interesting to you. Fans of the book might find it interesting. You know, young writers, you might find this interesting too. But the first thing that I noticed was my first chapter was narrated by Galt Albrecht, and you guys know who that is if you've read the book. And it was the scene where Galt is walking through the misty battlefield where all the dead people are, and then an Eros Rael finds the green stone amongst one of the dead kings, and that's the scene. That was the opening scene to The Forgetting Moon for a long, long time. And I had forgotten that because I had, over the series of different drafts I've done, I juggled the chapters around quite a bit. And now, in the final draft, what used to be the opening scene is now chapter 4. So I'm going to show you a little bit about that. But that's all I wanted to say here. Now I'm going to grab the camera, and we're going to compare and contrast all of this stuff here on the first page of my first draft with what actually ended up in the book. And it's really kind of fascinating to me, probably to fans of the book, and I'm hoping to young writers. So let's take the camera. We're going to go over here to our workstation, panning around the library here. Now let's go over here and let's check this out. Okay, so now I've got the first page of the book in its final form, and the first draft I ever wrote. So let's compare and contrast what we see. Okay, so let's go down here to the first draft. What we're going to see is the prologue is Galt Albrecht. Let me get my pen here so we can point this out. The prologue is Galt Albrecht. The chivalrically... Okay, so let's read the opening, because this is still the opening to the final version, and I'll show you. So, trust is fleeting, whilst betrayal is timeless. Alas, life is crowded with lies, so be bloody, be brave, be happy, For at the end of every tale, nobody is who they seem to be. Chivalric illuminations of Gabriel. Okay, that's different. Who's Gabriel? Because we know it's the chivalric illuminations of Wherein. Anyway, so that's changed. So one of the names of the scriptures has changed from chivalric illuminations of Gabriel to the chivalric illuminations of Wherein. That's different. And then the prologue, Galt Albrecht, 21st day of the winter moon, 999th year of Lejean, Azalea, I don't even know. Okay, so this is different. I don't even remember this happening. Okay, I got to change hands here. I can't do anything with my left hand, so let's change that. Okay. So, the Azalea Plains, those don't exist in the book anywhere. Windari still is. This kind of stuff okay, so let's go. The actual prologue. So this is what came in the final. So this is the book here. This is the final. It's actually it's actually told by Shawcroft. But this is similar. Trust is fleeting, while betrayal is timeless. Now, in my first version, I had whilst betrayal is timeless. So I changed whilst to while. I don't know why. Trust is fleeting while betrayal is timeless. Alas, life is crowded with lies. So be bloody, be brave, be happy. For at the end of every tale, nobody is who they seem to be. Okay, that's all pretty much similar. But now it's the Book of the Betrayer. You can see it was the Book of Betrayer. When originally, it was the chivalric illuminations of Gabriel. Okay, whatever. Now let's get to the prologue. Shawcroft, 15th day of the fire moon, such and such year of Lejean, Skylock Skulcana. Over here in the first draft, it was Galt Albrecht was the prologue back then. So those are the differences just in, my prologue turned to the thing with Shawcroft, when as before it was Galt. Now let's go to, so this Galt chapter, which used to be the prologue, is now chapter 4 in the book. So let us go to chapter 4 in the book. We will turn to it. It should be, oh, there it is right there. It's a miracle I turned to it so quickly. So let's go to chapter 4 of the book. So we've got that. So now we've got chapter 4 of the book. So instead of this up here, now chapter 4 is, okay, so now we've got the chivalric illuminations of Gabriel have turned to the chivalric illuminations of Wherein. And it reads, in life, as in war, more is lost when hope dies than by cold steel and slaughter. So that changed. Chapter 4, 15th day of the shrouded moon. It used to be 21st day of the winter moon. And Aletheia Plains. So we've got the Aletheia Plains now. So Aletheia, so this, whatever this is, I don't even know how I pronounce that garbage. Azalea Plains, I don't know. Changed to the Aletheia Plains, and I think Aletheia is a lot better. Now let's get into the text. Okay, so the original text is, Galt had walked among the dead for so long that he had grown inured to the horror. His sword was stained red, and the blood that dried on his chainmail had also splattered his face. He could feel it stiffening on his bald head in the frigid air. Okay, down here, in the final version, Galt had walked among the dead for so many years, he had grown hardened to the horror. Okay, so I changed inured to the horror to hardened. I think I did that because not many people know what the word inured means. Okay, so the enemy blood that coated his chainmail had also splattered his face. He could feel it stiffening on his bald head in the frigid air. Let's see. The original version, his sword was stained red. That is gone. Yeah, that part is gone. His sword was stained red. That's gone. And the blood that dried on his chin. Let's see. Then it be blood that coated his chain while splattered his face. He could feel it still. Yeah, the sword was stained red is gone. The rest of it is kind of similar. I don't know if you can see the differences. Anyway, as his gaze, this is the first version again. As his gaze raged over the landscape, dusk leached the daylight from the air, adding a measure of unwanted difficulty to his search for the body of the Wendari king. As his gaze raged over the landscape, dusk leached daylight from the foggy air, that's different, adding a measure of unwanted difficulty to his search for the rival Wendari king. That was pretty similar, so similar sentence there. Okay, next we have, the stench had begun to rise now that the rain had stopped. Let's see down here. Oh, that's not even close. Galt led his white destrier spirit by the reins. The stallion's dark eyes widened in and aflame. In the sullen mist that hung over the battle, the ground was boggy with horse entrails, vomit, and blood, and the stench had gathered strength. So it's similar, but just all rearranged. We actually don't even get to... in this first version, we don't even talk about Galt's horse at all, or its name. So I'm glad I added his horse and his name. But the rest is pretty similar, just the words are switched around. I will let you guys, if you care to, let's see. A sullen mist hung over the battle's ghastly harvest. I don't know if that made it back in. Yeah, in the sullen mists, right there, in the sullen mists that hung over the battle, okay, so we got rid of ghastly harvest. The ground was boggy with horse entrails, vomit, and blood. Up here, a sullen mist hung over the ghastly... So I got rid of ghastly harvest. I kind of like ghastly harvest. I must have put it somewhere else. In places, the ground was boggy with spilled rain. So I added a few more bits of gore. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so then we go on, and this is the first draft. No Wendari fighter had escaped the massacre this time. Let's see if we've got that there. Yeah, no Wendari fighter had escaped the massacre this time. That's actually word for word. And then the final version, even those who attempted to surrender had been slaughtered without mercy. Yeah, even those who... That line is exactly the same. Over 500 Wendari knights and half as many war horses strewn about the whatever plains. What few still moaned got silenced with his sword. Let's see. Yep. Similar, over 5,000. Oh, 5,000. It went from 500 to 5,000. Wendari knights and half as many war horses were strewn across the Aletheia plains. Oh, and then I separated. This is a sentence. This is a paragraph all of its own. In the final version, we get this sentence as its own paragraph. What few still moaned, Galt silenced with his sword. Up here, it's just kind of tacked on to the end of the paragraph. Now we're about done here. He considered himself a hard man, bred of a harsh and lonely land. One of my favorite lines. Let's see. He considered himself a hard man, born of a harsh and lonely land. So I got rid of, let's see, I got rid of something there. Hard man, bred. Yeah, so bred is kind of better, but I put born. I switched it to born. Still, his body begged for respite. In the original version, it was still his body begged for refreshment and sleep. So I got rid of refreshment and sleep and just put respite. In the first version, how long ago was it he could run like the wolf and hardly feel his heart race? In this version, it was, how long ago was it he could run like the silver wolf and scarcely feel his heart race? So I made a few switches. Silver wolf, because those were kind of important to the landscape, and added a little bit more detail. Perhaps not since before he last saw his stepdaughter, Silva. God, who is Silva? Perhaps not since before he saw his stepdaughter, Krista. Well, we had a name change right there. For the better. I don't know if I like Silva at all. Maybe not, let's see. Maybe not even since before his mother, before her mother, Avril, had died. Let's see. Maybe not even since before her mother, Avril, had died. And then at the end, where where was the strength and wind he'd once possessed in, and then where is that hard-earned stamina I once possessed. Okay, so those are the differences between first draft and final version. As you can see, some major changes, like completely having Galt be the prologue going to chapter 4, that's a major change. But the actual text remained similar with just a few little differences. In most cases, I like the improvements. Actually, there's a few words, like the word bread rather than born, ghastly harvest. For some reason, I got rid of ghastly harvest. That's a great descriptor, and I must have put it somewhere else, though. I don't know if I put it somewhere else, because I can't imagine getting rid of the battle's ghastly harvest. That's great. I don't know why I changed that to, I just got rid of it entirely. Anyway, so 90% improvement, 10% regret. But overall, what a great gift my friend gave me of this framed version of the first draft, and now we just compared it to the real thing. And so there you go, folks, a little bit of writing advice and history of how this book came about. And I hope you enjoyed that video.